Leighton. Welcome to Norway virtually.
Hey, 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 Pollyanna. Woo, Norway. Hey. I'm a privilege to be on here with you today. And thank you, for reaching out and just, looking into this journey. And, I just appreciate you very, very much for letting me know about this. It was a privilege to come on today, honestly.
So I'll introduce you to my students now. Leighton Benta is a multi award winning independent singer, songwriter, actor, and entrepreneur from London, the UK. He's known for his mission to bring love and authenticity into music, aiming to create songs that resonate with people from all backgrounds. Benta's journey in music began at a young age, and he has since achieved significant recognition, including awards for his contributions to the music industry. His work often addresses themes of resilience and transformation, drawing from his personal experiences with challenges like bullying and prejudice. In addition to his music career, Leighton is also involved in various initiatives aimed at inspiring and uplifting others through his art. Leighton, please tell my students about yourself.
Sure, no worries. So just want to send plenty of love and warmth to everyone in Norway right now, sending good vibrations. We always have to raise that vibration. So I want to thank Pollyanna, just for giving this nice, warming introduction. So it says a caution prior to everything that I stand for, but there's always so much more than just prior to the things that we do or what we've accomplished. And I focus more via on the being, the human vessel of unconditional love that we are naturally, godly given, and very extensions of that. So my journey solidly is about truth, authenticity, wholesomeness, consciousness. And through that, music and the entertainment side of it is an extension prior to everything I vibrate as a man and as an individuality of substance eternally. So I knew that this journey of mine solidly was all about how can I contribute something that's going to be timeless for not only just people of existence today, but for future generations, young kids, children who are coming into this world and yet to be coming into this world. Is that influence plays a big part. And I knew that my contributions had to be something that had a lot of humility and standing forward for something righteous. And by being righteous, you're able to put forward things and convey an expression that won't be as welcomed in the industry, especially the way it's consumed and the way it's orchestrated. I knew that the way I lead my life and my journey of truth and love, I had to be independent throughout the whole thing because I control the narrative. I dictate the way I want people to receive of this journey and to know that this can actually help others evolve and be educated with me, along with the more I evolve and the things I put forward for the community and the lives of many people. So honestly, it's more than just music. It's all about healing the motherland. So every day I consistently fight to bringing more hope, truth, and love, because I know that one day, the more you expand, the more you grow, the more you connect. I believe that my existence will be a form of significance in a way to know that people know that there's hope and there's someone who's actually fighting for their lives and freedoms. Because I feel when you're controversial in those ways, of speaking on a lot of things that go on, a lot of people want to censor that because you are exposing hidden agendas that pretty much control a lot of things that go on, worldly events and a lot of disasters. So I'm all about bringing something informative and authentic, but at the same time knowing that it can reach everyone from all parts of the world. So I'm here to fight for justice.
Thank you for the clarification on that because I don't know if people can see beyond what's on the surface unless we bring them in, right?
That's it.
Yes. So I have a question for you, and it relates to what my students are studying at the moment. We
Sure.
are looking into immigration, nationality, citizenship, where we belong in this world, ethnicity, all of those concepts, and how they play a part. How do you identify?
How I personally identify it, well, truthfully, Pollyanna, thank you for asking a very important question. So, just to put out my form of perspective on it. So, each and every one of us individually, no matter what cultural backgrounds we're from, how we've grown up, no matter where we are from, I want people to have this understanding that we are all infinite source of love, and we are all having a brief experience in this life to lead something that is of light, greater light. And I believe throughout history, over the years, have been manipulated. And I feel everything that is physical is not always the truth and just what is in existence for your evolvement and true awakening. I felt there's been a lot of manipulations over the years for centuries in history, even before we've even existed, so that it's here to indoctrinate people more than actually help people to grow and to build that community and unity. There's been a lot of distractions and things we've all been, receiving, whether this is like the media, the entertainment world, the government, and the health organizations, banking systems, religion, and so forth. Because I felt that there's one thing with things being labeled, and we can be labeled in as many ways as the way they dictate what we are. And we have always been here to live our freedom, which means we're here to do something that's going to cater for a timeless period of growth. So we are the true godly creations of extension. And I want people to know that the importance of going within, no matter if one is British, one is American, one is from Norway, but I want people to kind of detach themselves away from the label or the way they can basically feed you what they feel that you actually are. And because I feel it limits people in terms of how far they grow, and they just roll with just what they're given and taught. So we are actually the real history, which means we decide specifically everything, whether this is from knowledge we apply or the things we want to open our minds and hearts to, the resources we receive, whether this is from the educational system and so forth, and even your general life, because your life is actually the true educational of your spiritual growth. That's because we're all spiritual beings. No matter who you are, we are all on a spiritual journey of greater awakening, so that whatever we embed, it's got to be of a form of royalty, which means you yourself, Pollyanna, and all your students, for those who do watch this, they are their own form of gods and creations. And I feel with society, they box people in, and they're only about only numbing down with people's intellects by embedding things that are toxic for their systems and mindsets and hearts. So I I see it as we are here solely as a infinite consciousness, no matter our creeds, backgrounds, the way we look, the way our hairs are, whatever identity, we are the ones who identify our own selves without any particular attachment or strings attached or things that actually keep people limited in their form of evolvement. So where we are the real human beings. So everything that we've ever been taught, no matter whatever it can come from or what subject, it's all been a lie, because they don't want people to expand with their awareness and their intellect, because we are very, very intellectual beings from birth before we even come into this life. So I want students to know is that we are here every single day to be an expansion of what we was always meant to be, and that is unconditional love.
So what happens, and then what I took from what you said is that these labels, For instance, I was born in Brazil, but I grew up in the United States, and while living there, I remember being asked, "So, what are you? Are you black? Are you what are you?" And
Yeah.
and then since coming to Norway, I still have citizenship in Brazil. My
Mm,
nationality is still Brazilian, but I have been living in Norway and I have a residence permit here. So those labels are the
right.
ones that I carry. But when people look at me, all they see is you're black, so you must be from Africa. So those are all labels that people give one
That's it.
another.
That's it. And I agree. And I feel there's one thing looking a certain way or something, and assumptions naturally will be built because that's all people are accustomed to because they don't know anything new unless they have went outside of what we have been taught. So that's why it's important for us to always look beyond what we are given. And because the more we are able to go outside of all of that, to really seek higher inside ourselves, then we're able to really identify that we are all pretty much equal human beings. Because it's like people have built this perception because perception is built by everything we've all been fed from all of our experiences, the people we've evolved ourselves around, how we've grown up, our surroundings, our communities, cultures, religion, once again. So I want people to understand that as long as you, no matter what, you remain in that spirit, the spirit of righteousness and love, because that is what we were made to only recreate and be furthermore of that real man and real woman that we are all made naturally to be. Because there will be people that will teach us something different and that they try to also make you feel less of your worth, no matter where you come from. And I want people to really, and I have to say this for your students, I don't want anybody to give a damn what people think of them or how they perceive you, because we're in a time, especially this time, of so much awakening, so much truth being unfolded about so many things that we thought was true and real was actually false and fabricated. So I want people to understand that no matter what, if it's about love, you will always be able to grow in all of the ways you need to, no matter what your belief systems are.
One thing that I want to ask you, and it's something that comes. I'm asking you questions about what they're studying so that they can draw parallels between reality, which is
Mhm.
your authentic self, and what they're reading about. So
Yeah.
they have been studying about Britain. Who is British? Who is not? Are you British?
You know what? Once again, Pollyanna, yes, I am British. I may have a British passport. I may have been living in London, in the UK, England. However, once again, that is maybe where I was born, but it's not exactly what I will just remain as regarding just because I'm from Britain or Great Britain doesn't mean that I am attached to a lot of things that they identify as being British. And it's like, for example, people would expect people to be, oh, you love the royal family, oh, you love the queen, you love this and that. And I'm thinking, all of that, to be honest with you, and each to one's own of what they believe. But I'm not associated around things that I feel has been a false prophecy because I feel there's a lot of distraction out here. And I feel it's not about people's, it's not really about really diving further into more to what you actually really are with our true ancestry. I feel with all that maybe cultural that they may put out in Britain, I feel there's a lot, once again, because I've seen so much happen and experienced a lot, especially in the industries as well. There's so much that reveals exactly what has actually been filled with a lot of propaganda. So, um, and that's why I detach myself away from what they can say was supposed to be you is actually not. It takes you further away from because you then feel you have to live up to a particular expectation of something that's not even what you was even made to be. And that's why there's a lot of things I have detached myself, such as, the things that go on even with the industry, the things that they go on that they say is for us, such as, for example, resources or educational stuff, and because it's all been infiltrated with a lot of nonsense. So I feel it's only brainwashing people prior to, as much as we attach ourselves to these given labels that really are not to do with who you actually are and what you're here to represent. And that's why I lead my life with truth, and it comes with, unfortunately, sometimes, you lead your journey solo, and only having a few selective around who are on that same wavelength, because it doesn't matter. Once again, you need to identify more of yourself. Who are you? Not what everyone is telling you that you are because of where you actually are so-called born or from. It doesn't mean that that is actually a factual of what you really, really, really are. So I leave the door open for everyone and your students, Pollyanna, to not only just be too caught up with what might be Great Britain, because it can be what they choose to identify prior to themselves, and focusing more on what real human beings are showing with greater light. Because if you look at everything, it's all a stage. It's like we're in a stage, right? The world is a stage. I'm sure you've heard that. And mostly everyone out here in this world, unfortunately, is an actor. So everyone's playing by a script because they were given the script. So if it's called a programming, that means it's all only to take you away from your intellect and true self history, self. So British is British. It can be identified with whatever you choose. But I personally, I'm just here to vibrate what I feel is true. And that's your heart. Your heart is going to define the knowing of what you really are by how deep you dive in yourself.
Thank you for that. At the end of the day, it is more important to focus on the self than it is to focus on all the perceptions that come with who you are.
That's
Right.
it.
So I hear you. So here's what I want to ask you, and it's about immigration in the UK. What
Mhm.
are your thoughts on immigration in the UK? I'm an immigrant in Norway, and I've been living as such for the past 22 years. So I have
Right.
my own viewpoint, but what is it like for you?
I love the question once again, and thank you for bringing it up as well, Pollyanna, because I do understand, why these things are being brought up, and I get it, and it needs to be spoken about. So my personal perspective, right? So truthfully, there's a lot of, when I was mentioning regarding what I said in terms of when people say there are things out here who can demonstrate, oh, we are here and so for our people, for example, that's actually not true, because I feel there's been a lot of manipulation regarding people's people's um, being able to actually be vocal, to speak on out and have freedom of thought and speech, and not even that, but even just the freedom of being able to speak on out about things that you're not going to see a lot of people come forward to really tell people how they're really being treated. And there's a lot more mistreatment that comes with those who truly are here to live in the ways they were supposed to live naturally. And because of all these laws that go on, and then they conduct people with a lot of traps with these laws, which I will say is actually very illegal laws, that they impose on the public, and they keep people in suffer because they want to keep people in suffer. Even though they can easily be ones to help people to elevate, to get in better homes, to live more comfortably, all the resources are out there, Pollyanna, and they can easily help humanity. But those who control the narratives are those who basically control the way people are going to receive what they're going to receive and how they're going to receive it, no matter if we know what our rights are. And our rights naturally is to live our freedom without all of these illegalities that come with just the fact you need to drink water every day. You need to, you need to have food on the table for your kids or whoever might be out there, for yourself, your survival. Even with when it comes to like working and everything, I'll be honest, we was never naturally meant to even work. We was not meant to work for someone else and to earn a certain amount of money and to be able to pay off rent and to pay off mortgages and so forth that come with it. We was never meant to have all these facilities at the end of the day, Pollyanna, because we grew up on land, right? And I want people to understand that I do a lot of work prior to, as I said, when it's more than the music and the entertainment, it's a lot more. I want to be able to be the one to come forward in my form of way to showing people that we have all just been lied to. We could receive everything that we need, but the more reliance we have ever embedded onto the people, the more disappointment you're guaranteed to receive. Because it's never been about our health. It's never been about our true living of freedom and godliness, because they take that away by keeping people in more mental enslavement and feeling that they are a slave to the system. And we were never made to be slaves. It's just what we've been taught, and we've seen our families suffer and seen other people who we know, who we love, suffer. And it never meant to has been that way. But people consume it and think that's all that they are. And that's why a lot of people commit suicide every day. There's a lot of disasters that are created, and people don't want to live because nobody is hearing them out. No one's listening. No one's taking the time to build the healthy communities to come together with those who don't have homes, who are, for example, their children are in suffer in silence, but not many people will question these things that go on because they just think everything is all glitz and glamour and that everyone is actually, there's always a solution. There is a solution, but the solution is not with the corrupted government. And I have to be honest, because it's never been about your well-being. It's been about human depopulation. It's been about child labor, a lot of child trafficking, human trafficking. A lot of these things go on of the unseen. But people need to understand by what they see on the TV, who they think are the people who are supposed to be our leaders. Take away from that, because they are not your leaders. They have never been our leaders. They are only puppets on the string being led by societies that only dictate a lot of propaganda. So there's so much things that could be shared with this furthermore, Pollyanna, but I just know that we now come to this point. We have to make decisions, and people can say, oh, but it's something I have to do. We always will have a choice to make about something. And sometimes when it comes to doing the right thing, not many people will come forward to want to do the right thing because they feel by doing the right thing and standing forward to speak out more and be more vocal, there's more consequences and you receive some form of punishment and so forth in return. But really and truly, we was made to be vocal about things that truly matter. And that's how we're going to only move forward and be able to know that everyone is not actually on their own. We all have been through something in no matter what ways we have come from and what we came out of. Doesn't mean that we don't have things that we tackle on every day, because there's always something, but there is something of a solution. And the solution really is, it's your self choices you have to make, which means it will be risks. And sometimes it will be consequences for doing what's right, but I'd rather receive consequences for doing what's right than doing what's wrong, because there's so many people out here that are consistently doing that, and then a lot of people are being easily misled and misguided into more suffer. And that's why we are that justice, Pollyanna. And I want your students to feel that as well, because the immigration, of course, has always been very high, and it's always been expanding, and there's always a lot even still going on. But until people learn to know that your reliance has got to be on yourself, and not only that, but it's important with who we connect with, who we surround ourselves with, to knowing one's souls and one's purpose of what they're here to do. you realize that there are people who really do share these sentiments, and we're all fighting for the same purpose in our own expression, but we're fighting for something right. So we got to, even if it means suffering a bit more and holding more on, but we got to know that light will always win, and the justice of what is right will always be fulfilled. Even if it means taking on, encountering a lot more pain along the way, it's going to happen, because they know what they're dictating regarding the scripts and the people who's controlling everything. It's all about suffer. It's always been about suffer, and never anybody living their truth and freedom. I could say a lot more, but I hope
What
that's still
yeah, that's what they're studying at the moment. So there are laws and regulations for how somebody can come into a country and what they can do. And it's painted as, all right, so they were living in a little village somewhere and the village blew up. There was a war and they came to Norway. So now everything's going to be fantastic. And what you were saying, how the picture that's put out there and it's all like glitz and glam, but then how is each one of them living really? Are they having that good life that they were promised or not? And that's it's individual, it's an individual choice. It is not something that we can always rely on others for us. But there's a lot of talk about how England having a prime minister of color, that had changed how society was at that time. Do you feel that that's true?
false, because it doesn't matter the color of the race. I feel when it comes to race, that's where the barriers are created, because people say, oh, if someone's black or if someone's white or someone's yellow or purple or whatever, then that's going to dictate that, oh, we're gonna be living better. No, it's false. We've been lied to, because even the prime ministers are all controlled oppositions. They're not working for the light. They're actually working for, and I have to be honest, they're actually working for like a demonic system, right? So prime ministers are just puppets, parliament puppets. Everybody who's in, politics, politicians, who you can think of is in, we are so for our people. No, they're not. They're just getting paid. They're controlled. They don't actually really call the shots, even if they may turn up in the suits. There's people in the background are telling them what to say, how to say it, to convince people emotionally that, oh, they are for them, but they're not. They need people emotionally, mentally, spiritually, so that, oh, they're going to be fighting for us. Yeah. But that's how they do it. But they are actually really here to destroy us. So I want people to understand that, do not look up to all of these false prophets, because it's not, they're telling you lies. They don't care about us. They really don't. The government doesn't care. They never have cared for anyone. So that's why I'm saying we have to be able to claim our crown back, whether we're kings and queens. We got to claim it and own it, not just knowing it, but we got to own it, because this is why we have to build everything we can build for ourselves and even for those who we love, in the ways that we know that is right, without having to compromise yourself, without having to cut corners in a nasty way to getting what you want or to bringing more fulfillment. And that's why I say I speak on now about these things as well, Pollyanna, because um, we have been deceived. We're in a world of so much deception. So how can we unwire people's minds and hearts to not only not reprogram, but to readjust people's minds of the idea that there is a lot more to be questioned than just to settle with what you're given. There's a lot to seek higher for, and that's not relying on the corrupted government.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and when you talk about how we put so much focus on the figures that represent a system, that sometimes we forget that we're still individuals. And I wanted to ask you about your journey in this life as a person of color. I'm very interested in knowing this because I myself have gone through a lot. So it's something that only you and I will understand the importance of certain things, while other
I
people
understand.
say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We're all equal." But it's not that simple. Yes, we are all equal, but we do have a journey that we go through that differs from someone who's not a person of color.
That's a fact. And once again, thank you again for raising this forward as well. So of course, okay, being black or Caribbean, whatever it is, West Indian, so forth, so forth. But I feel this race thing goes so far back in history. It's way beyond. And it's like there was always this particular dictative program of what they were planning and how they were going to move with the narratives to keep people numbed down with mental enslavement, so that it divides people of color or people or any from what origin it may be. And I feel at the end of the day, when it comes to race, even though I may not identify, oh, yes, I'm this, I'm that, but at the same time, we go through the most. We do, because realistically, we were here on this earth before anybody else. And we've existed first before any other racial race we can call it. It's all in stages, but we were here first. But because we are natural creators, we're creative people. We have pretty much been creative. We created so many different things over these years and lives and have been hijacked, right? It's been hijacked so that those who are the original innovators have it gets hijacked by someone who had no contribution in even building it. It's like we've been destroyed by a lot of distortion, and it goes so far back because we are very powerful, and because we're powerful and they know we're powerful, the insecurities of theirs and history, so forth, they act with insecurity. They hate themselves because that's why it implants onto us, which means everything we may go through. And certain people of other races, they grow up a certain way and start being divided instantly because they think they saw it on TV, they saw it in kick shows, they heard it in music, they saw it in movies. Not only that, but it's even people you end up being surrounded by, the families people grow up. And racism has been so, it's ongoing. It's different now, but it's still ongoing the way it is now than how it was before, even though that's been manipulated too. And the industry specifically that I'm in, whew, I tell you, like when I was talking about when you was talking about the bullying, the prejudice, racism, I've had my career threatened many times. I've had my life threatened a good few times when it comes to my career. And the reason being, Pollyanna, is because I wasn't willing to be a slave to the system. I wasn't willing to be silent because I have went through to the extent where I knew so much things way beyond even my own time and existence and years. That's why I feel my soul has always been an old soul, because there's so much stuff that I have absorbed by being in the industry, by witnessing what really goes on and how they dictate the narratives and how they control the people. And I feel that's why my route was independent, because by being on these major record labels, which I had 6 offers, by the way, with, I declined every major offer that could have made me famous very quick. And the reason being is because it's a soul selling business. So it's about exchanging your identity, your soul's purpose to a demonic system, which means everything that you're here to speak with righteousness, whether this is about separating the fact that, race has been a distortion to only separate the people. And why it continues is because people are always keep talking about it and only being consumed in the way, in the corrupted ways and the toxic ways of the way it was only controlled. But if people were to separate that and start talking about color in them kind of ways, for example, and more people who build a natural community, because even with our own race, our own people can be against us. It's not about even people who are white or Caucasian or so forth, but there are people even from our own community that is obviously against us as well. and they're scared, they're in fear, because if they speak out, they feel their life will be taken away. They feel they will be murdered. They feel they'll be sacrificed. And a lot of that stuff does actually go on, especially in the industries, because it's grooming. It's about grooming you. It's not about doing what you know from your heart, living your truth, living your heart, living what you feel is freedom, standing for justice, to take away all these these races, and to know that we're all one in wholesomeness. I felt by really doing the right thing really means you go through a hell of a lot of crap just to do the right thing. And and that's why I've still been on this journey, still doing my truth, because nothing can stop what I'm putting forward. And I want people to identify themselves of not color. I don't want people to identify that, because that's when the trap starts building, and then you start seeing how people, oh yeah, so this is how white people treat black people. This is how black people treat white people, or this is how black treat black, and so forth. We need to really, we have to unlearn to relearn a lot of things. So that's why by taking on this, you receive a lot of verbal remarks and verbal abuse. And a lot of people want to also, because they're insecure, people who do something wrong to you is an act of insecurity in themselves. It's never to do with you. They see highly of you. They love you. They want what you have, and they want what you are, because you're a shade of light. Of there's something powerful you extend that they don't have. That's why they'll do whatever they can to manipulate you, that we're basically slaves when we are not slaves. We are actually kings and queens. They know it. And I want people to condition themselves in ways to knowing that we have to come away from the matrix, because the matrix has been a program. They've been telling everybody this in movies, that this time today was meant to happen. And it's all been, how can they get rid of human beings? How can we human depopulate? How can we poison human beings? It's always been about how they do it. And technology comes in the control of it as well, because it's not AI, artificial intelligence, that is actually only to do harm. Even though people can think, oh, it can help in other ways, that's how they get you to fall in love with technology, so that they can abuse you once you are caught up with the hype of it. So racism, the agendas, the new world order means it's a one world government, the way they want to take this world. And how they do that, they want to get rid of those who are highly conscious, because we're very intellectual, as I was mentioning, Pollyanna. So that's how they want to roll out with it, by getting rid of us, because our true awakening is growing and evolving, and we're seeing through a lot of lies that we've ever been indoctrinated and been told ever since we grew up as children, and let alone the generations we've grown up in. But it's all about breaking the generational curse, because if we don't stand up, even if we have to speak out, even if our voices shake, right? But at least once you've done that, you're able to build different perspectives in people's mind, because you chose to do something brave and real, because we're real human beings. And people don't realize these things, that we are all only by choice. If we have to say whether or not we're going to decide to let all of these different societies control us, and control the way we think, and control the way we treat ourselves, and control the way we treat people, because we was always, once again, brought up generally, rather, with our real history, is of true wholesomeness, unity, community, unconditional love, on land, out in the nature, and all of that has been, they put it in ways that it's actually there to corrupt more than what was supposed to be of wholesomeness. So they take us away from what is supposed to be our natural nature. That's why they consume us with a lot of crap, to take us away from what we was highly favored to do. It's steep. It's steep.
So it's very important that you bring this to the classroom, because I feel like, for instance, years ago, they used to study something called Christianity. at school.
Ah,
Now it is called Religion and Ethics in the World. So they
there you go.
changed it to expand, to make sure that people do not just look at one way of seeing the world, but multiple ways. So I think it's very important. I can't tell them what to believe in, but I can show my students what's out there and they can make
That's
their
it.
own choices. That's why I invited you, and it's been fantastic to
Hey,
have you as a guest speaker. And what I'm going to do is I'll talk about you before they see the interview. I'll probably play some of your music and we can listen to your music. And I like lyrics. To me, lyrics of songs, they are like poetry when they're well written. And I've been listening to your songs, and the underlying message is very touching for everyone. There's something for everyone. So thank you for your music and for everything that you do.
thank you, Pollyanna. Thank you. And honestly, I'm very grateful to you. And I thank you for having me on here because I honestly, you know what, you didn't make a mistake bringing me on here because you know that I was going to elevate my heart and I feel what I know I want people who need to know, not what they want to hear sometimes, but it's what they need to know because I'd rather tell people what they need to know and show and influence something that they need in their souls other than what I'm not here to brainwash people. I'm here to really tell the truth. I'm here to live in full authenticity. And that's why even my music, and once again, that's a part of me. But there's always so much more that's bigger than all our expressions creatively, right? So every song, every message is important to let people know that there is a real human being out here, right, who's really fighting for justice, who really does care about the humility in everyone who lives in this world. And it's a big deal because I take on a responsibility every single day. It's a big responsibility doing real human being work, and you're not willing to compromise yourself or who you are just to be in a certain position. And I'm never going to ever take on something that means I'm being less of who I am as a man or as an artist. That's why I create my own things. That's how I truly dive furtherly deeper, so that everything I let out to the world, they really feel it in different ways that they wouldn't have imagined to have felt something, because you're actually showing them your experience. But not only that, but you're taking them on the journey of love and fulfillment, and you're also educating people along the way. So for as long as I live and breathe, this is what I'm always going to be here to do. It's like saying we don't have to wear a cape, but I honestly feel, I really want to save the lives of people. That's what I'm here.
Thank you so much. I feel like so what we'll do is I will play your interview in parts because it's a lot longer than what I usually do, but I feel like
Yeah,
everything you said was really important. So we'll listen to all of it and watch the whole thing, but in parts so we can watch some and then I'll have them reflect and think about what we discussed and then play the rest of it. So I feel like we have to go into every issue with an open mind, and I think this is very important.
absolutely.
Yes, so I'll keep in touch and I'll give you feedback on how it went with the
Please do.
students. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be good to connect with them as well in any form of way as well. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yes, I'll put links to your social media and your music pages and everything for them to reach out if they want to know more about you and what you do.
Bless you. Hey, lots of love, Pollyanna. Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.